Good morning, everybody. Today's topic is structure and function of the immune system. And under this topic, we'll be dealing with hematopoiesis, the cells involved in the immune system, different lymphoid organs, T and B cell maturation, cluster of differentiation, and what is MHC or major histocompatibility complex or HLA and its typing. What is hematopoiesis? Hematopoiesis starts from a hematopoietic stem cell. From this, there are two kinds of progenitor cells. One is a myeloid progenitor, the other one is a lymphoid progenitor. Myeloid progenitor gives rise to dendritic cells and granulocyte, which in turn gives rise to granulocyte monocyte progenitor, from which you get neutrophils, monocyte, and from the monocyte we get macrophage. Next, eosinophil progenitors give rise to eosinophils, basophil progenitor cells to basophils, megakaryocyte to platelets, and erythroid progenitor cells to an erythrocyte. This is all what comes from the main section, myeloid progenitor cells. Under lymphoid progenitor cells, we get natural killer cells, T cell progenitor giving rise to T helper cells and T cytotoxic T cells, B cell progenitor cells giving rise to B cells, and dendritic cells. What about the lymphoid system? It comprises of two major parts. One is the lymphoid cells and other one is the lymphoid organs. Lymphoid cells, you have lymphocytes and plasma cells. These are the two kinds of lymphoid cells. What about the lymphoid organs? There are again two different kinds of lymphoid organs. Primary lymphatic organs and secondary lymphatic organs. Primary lymphatic organs comprises of the thymus and the bone marrow. Secondary lymphatic organs comprise of tonsils, lymph nodes, as well as the spleen. Let's see a bit about the development of B and T cell systems. From the bone marrow, there are two kinds of cells which are released. That is the immature T cells and immature B cells. Let's first see about the immature B cells. Immature B cells get matured in the bone marrow itself. That is how they get the terminology B cells. There are three things which can happen here. One is death by neglect. Second one is positive selection. Third one is negative selection. After these three take place, from these B cells, they go and enter into the spleen and the lymph nodes. There, based on the antigenic response and how they respond to that antigen from their germinal cells, again by the same process, death by neglect, positive selection and negative selection, they comprise of either there will be a cell death, that is a B cell, suppose it is non-functional, but if it's a functional B cell, it will get converted into a memory B cell and plasma cells, and it is these plasma cells which start producing the antibodies. This is how the process of B cells and their further production of antibodies takes place in the body. Let's come to the T cells. The same immature T cells are released from the bone marrow. They enter into the thymus, and in the thymus there is maturation. And maturation is based again by the same three processes. That is the death by neglect, positive selection and negative selection. Once there are these mature cells, again there is some antigenic response, that is they come into contact with an antigen, and based on their specific function, there is either the production of memory T cells or T cell death. And this death of B cell or T cell is mainly when the desired function of that cell is not acquired. That is, if they are not able to do the function which they are supposed to do, then there is apoptosis of the cells and the body kills those cells. Let's first see the central lymphoid organs. Firstly, the thymus. It is present behind the upper part of the sternum. It is developed from the third and the fourth pharyngeal pouches at the 6th week of intrauterine life. The maximum size is at the birth, and it decreases with aging. Functions: this production and proliferation of thymic lymphocytes. Let's see about those three selections which I had taught you in that previous slides. Positive selection, negative selection and death by neglect. What is positive selection? Suppose the T cell which is recognizing that antigen with MHC. MHC is major histocompatibility complex. Antigen is directly not presented to the T cell. It has to be presented or binded to another cell or a complex. Only then it is recognized by the T cell. Such T cells which are actually able to recognize that antigen MHC complex, because that is the actual function of the T cell. If they're able to do that, then those cells survive. That is called as a positive selection of T cell. Negative selection. Suppose those T cells cannot recognize the antigen MHC complex. Those cells die. What is death by neglect? T cells, instead of recognizing the antigens of the other, like the foreign antigen, suppose it is selecting or it is identifying the self antigen. We don't want such kind of T cells in our body. So those kind of T cells are also killed. So these are the three kinds of thymic selection. The same kind of selection happens even for the B cells. So what is thymus dependent lymphocytes? T cells are called as T cells because the maturation is dependent on the thymus. That is, the lymphocytes are conditioned in the thymus. Let's see the clinical significance of the thymus. There's one thing called as a Run's disease. What is that? It is a neonatally thymectomized mice. There's deficiency in cell-mediated immunity due to lymphopenia and graft rejection. Congenital aplasia of thymus. Suppose by birth there is no thymus at all. Then there is it's called as DiGeorge syndrome. That is, there's complete absence of T lymphocytes, and it's a defect from the fetal stage. Let's move on to the lymph node. This is the structure of a lymph node, wherein you can see the capsule. Then this is the capsule. Under that we have the medulla. This is the medulla, medullary sinuses. Next, below the capsule we are having all this cortical follicles, and in that cortical follicle there is a center which is called as a germinal center. After between the cortex area and the medulla we have a paracortical area that is rich with T cells. There is an afferent lymphatic, there is an efferent lymphatic, and the lymphocytes, plasma cells and macrophages are all in these medullary cords. So whenever the lymph moves, it is entering from the afferent lymphatic, then whatever function has to happen with the T cells and the B cells in this lymph node takes place, and then from the efferent lymphatics the lymph cells come out. Let's see the functions, what happen in the lymph node. There's a concept called as naive, fresh or virgin lymphocytes. These are the lymphocytes which are not encountered by the antigen at all. The lymph node acts as a filter for the lymph. It phagocytes foreign materials from microorganisms. There's proliferation and circulation of B and T cells, and there's also enlarged following antigenic stimulation. We can always feel that lymph nodes, swollen lymph nodes, either in the neck or post-auricular. So what does that mean? That is all after post-infection, when the lymph cells are actually having those antigenic stimulation. So when there's large proliferation and production of lymphocytes in those lymph nodes, that is when that swelling takes place. That swelling is nothing but the enlargement of the lymph node. Moving on to the spleen, it's the largest lymphoid organ. It is also covered by a capsule, and the trabeculae are dividing into different components. The main components are the red pulp and the white pulp. This is again having a mixture of both sections where there are plenty of T cells and there are sections where there's plenty of B cells. Functions: this filter and trapping blood-borne pathogens. That's the main function. It's a graveyard for blood cells. That is mainly the function of the red pulp, and it synthesizes antibodies in the white pulp and removes extracellular bacteria. Can you see this function, the removal of extracellular bacteria? Now, what happens if there's no spleen? That is what is the clinical importance of splenectomy or effects of splenectomy. What happens in children? What happens in adults? Adults, it is very simple as blood-borne bacterial infection because the organisms are not being cleared out from the blood, and it results in bacteremia. In children, it is more pronounced. It is as increased bacterial sepsis by main organisms Streptococcus pneumoniae, Neisseria meningitis, and Haemophilus influenza. What is MALT? Mucosa associated lymphoid tissue. The mucosa linings of different systems have aggregates of lymphocytes called as MALT. Now, based on the different places in the body, it has different names. Adenoids, tonsils, colon, that is Peyer's patches, all these can be labeled as gut associated lymphoid tissue or GALT. Present in the bronchus, if those aggregates of lymphocytes are there, then this is called as BALT. What are the functions of these aggregates? There is large production of plasma cells, that is antibody production is huge. Both B and T cells are present. Antigenic exposure at one mucosal surface stimulates the production of antibodies at other mucosal surface also, and that is why there is superiority of parenteral immunization over oral or nasal route. Normally IgA is produced at the mucosa, but here in case of MALT all types of immunoglobulins are produced. Moving on to lymphocytes. 20 to 40% of the body's WBC comprises of lymphocytes. Small round cells, they are found in the peripheral blood, lymph and lymphoid organs. Depending on the function, they are classified as T cells, B cells and natural killer cells. Overall function of the lymphocytes, they play a central role in generating immune response. Lymphocytes educated by the central lymphoid organs are called as immunologically competent cell. The naive cells, on encountering the antigen, that is the naive cells first become mature T and B cells, then on encountering with the antigen and after they understand what response it has to give, it is called as an immunologically competent cell. And it is a storage of immunological memory. The specific antigen recognition site is present on the surface of the cells. T cells when activated produce lymphokines and they induce CMI. B cells when activated divide into plasma cells and immunoglobulins are synthesized. Now, what is cluster of differentiation or CD? These are nothing but the surface markers on the lymphocytes and they reflect the stage of differentiation and functional properties. So at each stage of development, there is a different number. That is, suppose a cell is a baby cell. It will have a different surface marker on its lymphocyte. So that is denoted as a number. Either it can be 1, 2, 3 or any kind of a number based on the type of cell. So as and when there is a maturation process taking place, each of those cells has a different surface marker and based on that there is a different number. That is why it is called as a cluster of differentiation. So let's see what are the different CD numbers and the cell type association. CD1 is always used for thymocytes. CD2 is T cell SRBC receptor, that is a sheep RBC receptor. CD3 stands for the T cell antigen receptor, wherein the antigen comes and binds on the T cell. CD4 is always for the helper T cell. CD8 is for the suppressor or the cytotoxic T cell. It is also called as CD4 cell or CD8 cell sometimes. CD19 and 20 is for B cells. CD16 and 56 is for the natural killer cells. Simpler way to remember, less than 19 always for the T cells, 19 and 20 for the B cells. Let's see the structure of the T cell receptor first and then let's see about the T cell maturation. So what is the structure of the T cell receptor? It has two chains, alpha chain and the beta chain. And it is this groove which is called as the antigen binding groove. That is a part of the alpha chain and then a part of the beta chain. So antigen comes and binds at this part. The upper portion is a variable region. The below portion is a constant region. And below that is the hinge and a cytoplasmic tail. It is with this cytoplasmic tail that it is bound to the receptor, to the membrane. The T cell maturation starts with a stem cell which produces a pro T cell. That pro T cell has a CD surface marker as 7. On entering the thymus, it acquires the CD2 marker. Then in the thymus, it becomes a pre-T cell wherein it is acquiring the CD3 marker. Later on, it is classified into two types. It again has two sections. One is an immature T cell wherein it has CD7 marker, CD2, CD3, and alpha. Instead of alpha and beta, here we are having a gamma delta chain. That is for the innate immunity. But what about for the rest of the immunity? Wherein here there is alpha and beta chain. Once that all these CD markers are there on the immature T cell, it will lose that CD1 marker and it can either be a CD4 type of a cell or a CD8 type of a cell, wherein it is going to have CD7, CD2, CD3, CD4 and alpha beta type or the receptor beta alpha beta chain. The same is here. Instead of 4 we have CD8 marker. This becomes the helper T cell, this becomes the cytotoxic or a suppressor T cell. What are the different types of T cells? We have a T cell with a gamma delta chain which participates in the innate immunity, and we have the one with alpha beta chain. If from this we have CD4 cell, CD8 cells and natural killer cells. CD8 cells are cytotoxic T cells. CD4 cells, again we have Th2 cell which activate the B cell. T helper 17 cells which promotes inflammation. T regulatory cells which regulate the immune response. T helper 1 cell which secretes cytokines for self proliferation, and TDTH, that is for delayed type of hypersensitivity. Moving on to the B cell maturation. It is similar to the T cell maturation, wherein we have a stem cell from which we get a pro B cell. Embryonic life, it is produced in the fetal liver. Rest of the life, it is produced in the bone marrow. Next, it gets converted into a pre-B cell, wherein the cell acquires a cytoplasmic IgM. Next, the IgM is expressed on the surface. It was first in the cytoplasm, then it gets expressed on the surface. Then it becomes an immature B cell. Later on, it becomes a naive B cell. From the naive B cell, there is something called as an immunoglobulin isotype switching. That is, along with IgM, it acquires IgD also. So a mature B cell will have two kinds of receptors, that is one IgM and IgD. Now based on the contact with the antigen and what kind of antibodies need to be produced, it gets converted to a plasma cell and a memory cell. Plasma cell produces the required number of antibodies, and memory cell is there for later purpose. The plasma cell, it is an antibody secreting cell. It has a cartwheel appearance. Plasma cells express one immunoglobulin, whereas memory cells express all isotopes compared to the naive cell, because it has to be prepared to what kind of immunoglobulin it needs to produce in the future. Moving on to null cells. These lymphocytes which lack features of either B or T cells are called as null cells. They have CD3, T cell receptor and immunoglobulin marker. All these three which are supposed to be there are missing. That is the reason they are called as null cells. Other name, it's a large granular lymphocyte. It's double the size of the normal lymphocyte. It has abundant cytoplasm and several azurophilic granules. The different types: natural killer cells, antigen dependent cytotoxic cells, that is ADCC, and lymphokine activated killer cells, that is LAK cells. So what are natural killer cells? They recognize the antigen combined with class 1 MHC. I'll tell you what is class 1 and class 2 by the end of the chapter. They have CD16 and CD56 on their surface. By signals for activation are interferon alpha, beta and interleukin 12. They release cytotoxic proteins, and there are two things. One is perforin. It forms a pore, that is perforation or a pore for delivery of the granzymes. And granzymes are the enzymes which are released which programs the cell to die, leading to apoptosis. That is how it attacks the malignant cells and the tumor cells. ADCC, it is antibody dependent cell mediated cytotoxicity. So here on the target cell, this effector cell with the FC receptor, it is binding to the antibody, and along with this together it is attacking the target cell. So this is capable of lysing the target cell sensitized by IgG antibodies. It is a mechanism for killing the tumor cells by therapeutic antibodies. Moving on to macrophages. In the blood, they are called as monocytes. Once they come into the tissues, they are called as macrophages. They originate in the bone marrow, they leave the circulation and enter the tissues and become macrophages. The granulomatous conditions, they present as multinucleated cells and epithelioid cells. In the liver, the different organs have different names. liver as Kupffer cells, spleen, sinusoidal cells, lungs, alveolar macrophages, bones, osteoclasts, joints, synovial cells, skin, Langerhans cells, brain, microglial cells. The different functions of macrophages: phagocytosis, induction of immune response, effective defense against typhoid, brucella and tuberculosis, bacilli which assist digestion, anti-tumor activity and graft rejection, inflammation, the production of interleukin 1, spirogens for prostaglandins and complement, and antigen presentation to T cells. The macrophages, the neutrophils, eosinophils and basophils. Neutrophils features active phagocytic mechanism and are present in acute inflammation. Eosinophils mainly in allergies and parasitic infections, and basophils on degranulation they play a major role in hypersensitivity reactions. What are antigen presenting cells? Once the immune system is activated, the T helper cell can recognize the antigen only if presented through an antigen presenting cell with appropriate MHC class molecule present on their surface. They are dendritic cells, macrophages or B lymphocytes. This major histocompatibility complex. They are mainly present on the leukocyte. It's also called as a human leukocyte antigen. It is located on the short arm of chromosome 6. It has three classes, class 1, 2 and 3. Class 1 determines histocompatibility. Class 2 regulates the immune response. And class 3 is linked to complement components. So there are two classes of HLA class 1, HLA class 2. HLA class 1 is present in all nucleated cells except RBCs, and they are present on the surface. They are attached on the surface membrane of the cells. It has alpha 1, alpha 2 and alpha 3 chain and a beta 2 microglobulin chain. And the antigen comes and sits on this alpha, on the groove between alpha 1 and alpha 2. Whereas HLA class 2 cells, class 2 molecules are present on the antigen presenting cells, and it has two chains. There is an alpha chain and a beta chain. Has alpha 1 and alpha 2 subchains and beta 1 and beta 2 subchains. So here this is the antigen presenting group or antigen binding group between alpha 1 and beta 1. What is MHC restriction? That is, the T cell responds only when the antigen presenting cells are presenting antigens which are attached to the MHC molecule. So in that group the antigen has to go and sit, and together it is presented to the T cell. And there are two classes, MHC class 1 and class 2. So which T cell goes and attaches to or goes and presents to which MHC class 1 or class 2? So let's see. There's a simple formula. The CD4 cells has to recognize the antigen presented on MHC class 2, and CD8 will recognize when it's presented on MHC class 1. Simplest way to remember, just remember the CD number, the 4 or 8 into the MHC class, and our ultimate number has to be 8. So it's just one way of writing it down in your answers. What is HLA typing? The donor's antigen expressed on the surface of the leukocytes are matched with that of the recipient. The different methods: phenotypic method and genotypic methods. Phenotypic method by serology, microcytotoxicity method, tissue typing by mixed lymphocyte reaction. Genotypic methods by PCR, restriction fragment length polymorphism and DNA sequencing. These are the various HLA typing method wherein you have to actually match the donor and the recipient whenever there is any kind of a transplant. Where are they used? Mainly for transplantation, to see the compatibility of the donor tissue, paternity testing, anthropological studies to find out the origin of the human species, and genetic predisposition to diseases. So belly laugh increases the ability of your immune system to fight infections. The only thing is, you want to improve your immune system, just stay happy.